Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird, true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 549, written by lattekosmiko. Glitch my name, please. I don't know if this was a glitch, but it's really weird and in some way funny. Premise: I was born and live in Italy. My name is used here, but not like in other countries, and not so frequent that I often see it around. Like if I look for a keychain with my name on it, I never find it. Years ago, I went out on the balcony, which moreover I never do. I don't remember what I wanted to do because I also suffer from vertigo, so it's rare for me to go out there and look. The fear gets to me. I live on the 4th floor. So I went out and I casually looked out of the balcony to see the road, and in that exact moment, I saw a white little van pass by, the classic one often used by companies to transport products, at least in my country. On the van's roof, which I could see clearly from my balcony being high up there was my name in large letters. It was very badly written. It surely wasn't a company sign. Also, it was done with very thick brushstrokes, but at the same time, it didn't even look like a rider tag. The name took up the whole roof of the van, which the person drove smoothly to the end of the road and then left. It's fun to write this now, but how many chances were there that just at the moment I would look out from a balcony that I basically never went to, a van passes with my name written randomly on the roof in huge letters? What happened? Case notes, file number 549. You know, it makes me wonder how many of our choices are heavily influenced by outside forces. Perhaps the developers or moderators of this game we call life drive home subconscious desires when there are events that need to happen, or they believe would benefit us. It's a chain of dominoes effect. Try to quantify the events after you saw your name on that van, a rare name scribbled randomly on the side of a normal white van. It may have led you to question your sanity or assume some greater purpose. Maybe change your belief system altogether. I don't know exactly how it changed you, but I'm sure it did. And you, having your mind altered in that way, made different choices throughout the entirety of the time since then, years now. How many small choices have you made that were different than if you had not seen your name on that van? Maybe you choose caffeinated coffee instead of decaf, leading to an earlier rise in the morning, which leads to you avoiding traffic and making that work meeting that you otherwise would have missed, which led you to getting that promotion you wanted. And on and on and on, and in so many branching paths that I could never possibly even hope to hypothesize over. And all traceable back to this one catalyst. What a thought. Case file number 550. Written by Throwaway 1039-49-532, The Night Walkers. So, I'm a truck driver, and how my job works is I will drive to a halfway point and meet with another driver, and we will switch loads and turn back to go home. Well, our meeting point is this parking lot in this ghost town. At least I'm assuming, given everything surrounding it is abandoned and no other points of interest nearby for several miles. I've been doing the same thing every night, Monday through Friday, and sometimes we arrive at the same time. Sometimes he waits for me, and sometimes I wait for him. Well, last night I arrived before him and got out to stretch my legs and smoke. This is around 11:40 p.m. While I was standing there, I noticed someone walking up the street. My lights are off and the parking lot is dark, so there's no way to see me, but thanks to lights from the highway, I can see him. I don't want to be seen by him, so I toss my cigarette on the ground and get into my truck slowly, making as little noise as possible. I climb into the back of my sleeper and close the curtains, but look out the window and I see an entire group of people all wearing the same t-shirt walking slowly in a line, but stopping for a second every third step. Possibly 20 or so people in the line. I call the other driver to warn him, and I look through a hole in my curtain as they walk by, and then out the other window to see them just casually walk down the road. Yes, they were walking down the middle of the road. I didn't get out once until the other driver showed up and we swapped and left. This was in Louisiana, about 30 miles from Hammond. Case file number 551, written by Cyanide Life, My Dorm. Glitch Haven. I go to a relatively old college, built in the 1800s, and there's a bunch of stories of it being haunted, but I don't really buy into it that much. I've been here a couple years already and haven't seen anything too weird, minus what I'm about to say, which is possibly the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. My roommate is never here. She always just stays at home and commutes to school for classes, which means I basically live alone in my dorm. As an introvert, I could not be happier. After dinner, I usually just go back to my room, lock the door, and work on homework. A few nights ago, I was at my desk working on my paper in the dark and listening to music on my phone. All of a sudden, the music stopped and my laptop switched off on its own. Neither the computer nor my phone would turn back on, like something had just disabled all the electricity in the room. At that point, I kinda just accepted my fate and decided that would be a good stopping point for homework. It was probably after midnight anyway, and the next day was a Saturday, so I didn't need to use my phone to set an alarm. I decided I'd probably just go to bed and let both devices charge. Less than a minute after everything shut off, there was a knock at my door. I remember walking to the door and going to look through the peephole, but after that I remember nothing. I woke up in my bed the next morning on top of the sheets, which I never do, and I don't even remember going to bed. On top of that, when I checked the door, it was unlocked. I never leave it unlocked, even when I'm in the room. I will check the door 3 times an hour out of paranoia, just to make sure I didn't forget to lock it. I've even turned around halfway to class to see if I remembered to lock the door. I figured it must have been my roommate who came to the room that night, and I was just so tired I didn't remember. So I texted her to tell her she'd forgotten to lock the door last night, but she responded by saying she was never at the apartment. I thought she was lying or something, but then she FaceTimed me and she was in a completely different state. The only 2 people I would have opened the door for were her and campus security, and I have no idea why security would have been at my door past midnight, especially since I was making 0 noise, and no one else has a key, so I would have to be the one to unlock the door. Nothing in my apartment was out of place or missing. I finally assumed that I must have dreamt the whole thing and that I'd somehow unlocked the door in my sleep. My phone and laptop were working fine after all and showed no signs of damage. A couple days later though, I started telling my friend in class what had happened, and as soon as I mentioned that my electronics stopped working, some other girl that I didn't even know butted in and asked, "Was there a knock on your door after?" This girl proceeded to match my story almost exactly. She was alone in her room, all the electricity shut off. There was a knock on her door. She went to check through the peephole, and she remembers nothing after that. Her only difference is that she woke up on the floor next to her bed and not on top of her bed. She says she also knows someone else that this has happened to, but she won't tell me who. I'm just thinking that if there's 3 of us, this may have happened to a lot more people that we don't know about. Has anyone experienced anything similar? Is there anything I should do about this? I don't think campus security would do anything about it since nothing was stolen, I wasn't hurt or anything, and there aren't even any cameras in the building. Great security plan, I know. They barely do anything about actual crime, so I'm pretty sure I'd get laughed at if I said anything. What was this? And what do I do? Bonus file, written by itsMeTazzy. The light of my life is gone. When I was about 16, I met my now deceased wife. We were childhood lovers and stuck with each other with relative ease through our teens and adult years. We didn't argue that much, and when we did, it was finished pretty much as quickly as it started. We have 2 kids together, and we were a pretty normal household. My wife was a very spiritual person. She was very much into magic and spirits. She wasn't a loony, just a tad obsessive. Anyways, she passed away 2 years ago due to a lost battle with cancer. It pretty much destroyed me. I felt as though the light of my life was taken away from me. I hadn't experienced that pain in my life often, but when I did, I rarely got over it. Just a few months ago, I started having problems with my sleep. At first, it was little things, waking up in a sweat, having difficulty breathing, waking up and crying, but then it slowly began to get worse. I started seeing my wife in my dreams, and she kept calling out for me. I couldn't move towards her and I couldn't speak either. I always woke up from these as soon as my wife came close to me, but it didn't stop there. A few days after I started having the dreams, I began seeing my wife's face in reflections of stuff. Like the windows, pots and pans, kitchen utensils, anything that was reflective. It showed her standing behind me, and when it didn't, it showed her standing a few feet behind me, in the corner of the room. During this time, I had my children sent to my parents due to the fact I was on medication and didn't want them to see me going through this. Anyways, I've started hearing from her. Not speak, more like when you think you hear someone call your name, but you're not 100% sure whether you actually heard someone or not. Objects in my room are moved, not by a lot, just by a few centimeters, but I can still tell. It's just one of those things, you know? But yeah, stuff is getting worse. But this can't be my wife, right?